Basha. How are we today? It's Thursday.
Thursday. Excited. I get to sleep an extra half hour tomorrow, so yay.
Absolutely. I've been getting up at 3:45, and now the weekend I get up at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And I take the dogs out in the light in the weekend, where before it's pitch black and I can't see anything. So
yeah,
it's I love the weekend, and there's no deadline, so it's just like I can take my time.
Yes.
So anyway, let's read the sponsorship message from Nelson Park Property. This podcast is sponsored by Nelson Park Property, awarded the best real estate agency for 2019. Nelson Park Property has been operating in Qatar for more than 10 years, helping families find their new home, individuals purchase their next investment, and companies move to their new offices. With Nelson Park's team of more than 30 agents, they are confident in helping you make the right decision for your real estate needs. Get in contact with Nelson Park Property on 5551-7567 or visit www.nelsonparkproperty.com. And if you're new to this show, we want this show to be positive and an uplifting podcast where you can walk away feeling revitalized and ready to face another day. We're going to bring you experts in their field of business to let us know how they are dealing with this current situation and what measures they have taken to get through this storm. And also, we want to hear from entertainers. If you're an entertainer, we want to hear from you. We want to showcase your skill, your artistic skill, etc., on this show at the end. So please email me on network@gingercamel.com. And then finally, a big shout out to the lovely ladies that are on the show early in the week, www.armyofmasks.com. Please go and volunteer your services in any way you can, which will help your local community and the world. So go to that website, www.armyofmasks.com. So we're here. It's Thursday, and I just want to shout out tomorrow and Saturday. It won't be myself and Dr. Hannan doing the show. It will be In the Games host Steve Mackey, and he will have some great guests. So catch him at 2:15 tomorrow and Saturday. It will be a great show, hopefully. So it's the end of the week. We're still smiling.
Yes, we are.
So how has the week been for you, Dr. Hannan? Let's just talk about the guests that we've had on the show and what you got from it.
It was amazing. It was I believe everyone that comes on just brings their perspective, their worldview lens of what is happening in their own world, but also in the ripple effect that is around them. That being said, our positive impact of every single person and their splash zone of that positivity is really up to us. So, we've seen the extremely energetic Kim, who's always busy, but yet she's still doing what she can do from home, putting on the mindset that, yes, the kids will go through their routine, but at the same time, she's not suffocating them with them. We've seen the ladies of the Army of Masks and how, even if you don't know how to sew or you don't know or you can't get out of the house, you could still do something from your home. And that again reinforces the idea of us saying that every person is of value. We've seen Omar of eButler and him saying, I'm not a frontliner. I don't want to take away the credit, but in essence, he is. I called him when I shared the episode. I called him an honorary frontliner, just because he's doing his part, ensuring that the disruption to the businesses are not magnified over and above. And, he's expanding in a sense that he wants to serve more people. Who else? Was it Caroline was this week or last week?
Last week, Caroline, but you can talk about Caroline as well. You can talk about all of them.
Exactly. Caroline with Roots, that they're one of the businesses that have been impacted because they can't physically do their job. That didn't stop them from still going out and sharing tips and thinking of amending and adapting their business model by delivering products, by doing this. So survivability, adaptability, resilience, agility. These are all the concepts we've been talking about in terms of the business, but also as humans. We've seen Bosco, of course, the energetic, all popular Bosco, and he's also thinking of ways of how to amend and serve and entertain himself, because he's such a ball of energy. And that also in itself could, for some people, if they don't know how to channel that energy, that could actually flip the other way around, and then that can get them into a different depressive mode. We've seen David and his role of going from the celebrity jet setting chef into really connecting with what matters, what prioritizes in life, but also shifting his mind from, I no longer want to do a restaurant with a setup and stuff. I want to go into social entrepreneurship, which is also another concept that people are not that familiar with. It doesn't just have to be an NGO or a nonprofit. It can be a social entrepreneurship, which means that you're still an entrepreneur, but you have, I call it entrepreneurship with a conscience, that you want to give back to the society. You want to empower those around you. So that's in essence, that's what he's doing to the community. It's not just about planting and selling and promoting organic vanilla pods, but also he said, that they can have the bicycle stand. They can have a little home that can also be rented out, and that gives us. So it is thinking of how connected we are and how organic we are as societies and as communities, and how one person could cause that splash impact, positive impact across so many lines. Steve will be on tomorrow, and he's doing his part in terms of the business, the startup business arena and field within Qatar. And I'm sure that his splash zone is beyond just this geographic location. We've seen how schools are dealing with what is happening. We have seen how real estate, and through Jeff, that it's real estate yet again. This is people showing these are agents. You need to see the house in itself, but they're thinking out of the box. They're saying, I can do a video call, I can do a virtual tour, I can empower people to still move into their houses without having to feel like they're subjecting or risking themselves to further coverage or further risk by going out of their house to move on to the other one. So I hope I haven't forgotten anyone yet. Oh, of course. And yesterday we had Janice bringing us kind of full circle from a different perspective of saying, okay, you're home. You don't have to eat everything in the fridge. There are ways that you can deal with this. We know that food is a coping mechanism. I have seen the number of baking posts I have seen on my timelines across, which is fascinating that people are going back into the kitchen and experimenting. We're just saying, open up your horizon a little bit more, be open to new ingredients, experiment with new cuisines, for example, and new alternatives. So you are just taking very small steps to improve whatever's going into your body. So
no, I think with the kitchen, I think it's another room that we want to explore, that we've kind of just used it as a means to an end when it comes to food and, oh, it's tea, let's just cook whatever and then get on with whatever we're doing, because a lot of us have got busy lives. Now that we've got the time, is that now we're appreciating that kitchen for what it is, and now we're looking at, oh, actually, I've never had the time to cook and bake, and I think baking is the one thing that needs a little bit more extra care, isn't it? It's so you need to really focus on the ingredients. So now that we have the time, I think that's why people have gone into the realms of baking. And like, I know my wife, she's gone on YouTube and found videos where you can bake rolls or bread very easily, where we always thought you need a special machine or special ingredients, and actually you don't. And also bringing the family together is another great way, as Janice mentioned, to bring the family together and cook together, which we've done, and it's been great. Even now, it's funny, like we were sitting out last night, and it was a beautiful evening, and my wife had set the table, and she was cooking. It was just pasta, and it was bolognese pasta, bolognese, and but she put the her iPhone on, found Italian music, and it was like being out in a courtyard in Italy. So it just and those things, it just helps to break that where you feel trapped within the house. And I think that's what people have to do. They have to use their imagination. They have to experiment. And
it's the breathing space, Stefan, that we've had. You
absolutely.
know, you're just kind of like, with baking, usually when there's dough that you want it to rise, so you need to give it some time to rise, or you need to re-experiment with it. I remember when I first tried baking, and this was like 8 or 9 years ago, there was a time that I actually tried with the yeast 11 times until I did not kill it. So I was able to create the dough. And I was like, persistence. I'm a Taurus, so I was stubborn. I was like, I'm going to get this. This has to be done today.
Yeah.
And it is that. It's people have a bit of a breathing space. That being said, there are those that are not enjoying the extra time they have to spend in the kitchen. Because they're not into cooking. They don't enjoy it, as for them it's a task to feed the family rather than something to enjoy their creativity. A couple of years ago, one of my mindset shifts about creativity, for example, was the fact that I am creative in the kitchen. I never thought of myself as a creative person. I'm not a painter. I'm not an artist. I'm not a musician. So I always said, I'm not creative, but I appreciate creativity, until I realized that my creativity is my cooking. I'm the type that just opens up. I don't really pre-plan things, a lot of things. I just open up the fridge, the freezer, pantry, whatever it is, and think of what do I have, especially what do I have fresh, and then I can build something around it. And I build something around it. 80 to 90%. Well, now I'm getting better, of course. So 90%, it turns out really nice. Problem is, when my husband enjoys it, I can't repeat that dish. He's like, can you please just fix this? I'm like, let me try to remember the ingredients, let me make a note of that.
You have to write it down.
Exactly. But I never, even when I follow a recipe, I have a problem following it to the T. And that's why he has an issue when I follow recipes. but that's my creative outlet. That's how I enjoy. I love colorful foods. I love a plate that has color in it. So it could be just pasta, but it could be pasta with some sausage and some vegetables and, and then have a fresh guacamole done next to it and stuff. So it is that. You don't have to have cooking as your creative outlet. You don't have to spend extra time. It's just that because people have some more time, then they're willing to experiment further in the kitchen. But you don't have to feel peer pressured and social media pressured into doing that just because.
No, absolutely. No, far from it. And that's what I'm always wary of. And I've always stayed away from social media when it comes to my own personal life, and not follow what people are doing, because you do see there's a whole river of where people follow everyone else, and you just see the same messages pop up or same pictures, because everyone like, oh, that's great. Oh, well, I'll do that. And then suddenly you get everyone baking, everyone's doing something. It's like a herd of sheep, literally, or flock of sheep. Just
that's another thing about social media. I was just talking to my friend last week, and we were talking about that, that she's like, I'm off Facebook for a while. I just can't take the negativity and everyone sharing news. I'm like, I discovered an amazing feature I didn't know about until my husband told me like a couple of months ago. She's like, what? I'm like, you can mute people and you can unfollow them, not unfriend them, but you can unfollow those that are nagging on your timeline.
People who are just literally addicted to social media.
Exactly. And I'm like, that has been a life changer for me. I don't want to lose my connection with these people. I just don't want to have them on my timeline now until I am able to process through whatever is going.
Absolutely. So you find that you can only take them whether you're in that right frame of mind.
Exactly.
Well, that's like your partner and anyone else. But
True. Because whatever happens, that is happening now, that you're experiencing now, you are processing as per your state of mind now. Absolutely. So you could be telling me, oh, I like your hair today. if I'm not feeling confident about my hair, I can say, oh my God, he means it's too big. It's taking up the screen and stuff, and I can take it in a very negative way. Whilst if I just looked at my hair today, I'm like, you do whatever you want. And you tell me I like your hair today. I was like, yeah, I know. It's like filling up the screen, So it really is a state of mind, how you process. And the same thing that goes on your timeline. You want to go on your timeline and you see people that we're tracking on a daily basis, the COVID-19 number of cases, the number of deaths, how close it is, you're going to feel claustrophobic because you're going to feel like it is coming in closer and closer.
Yeah.
It is a pandemic. It is a fact of life. We have adapted and changed major things in our life to accommodate that. But that does not mean that I have to let it invade my personal space. Now, this is my safe zone, whether that be one room, if you're all in it as a family, or one big house. This is my safe zone. I get to decide what I let in. Jim Rohn, who's one of the most inspirational and first inspirational speakers, had this statement that I loved. He's like, every day, stand guard at the door of your mind, or something along those lines.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
It is what are you letting in?
Absolutely.
Because as we were talking before, what you let in shapes you. It reprograms your subconscious, and that entails your actions. Why? Because between your subconscious and your conscious, 90 to 95% of your actions and your phrases and whatever's happening in your life is actually dictated by your subconscious. And your subconscious gets programmed by more or less your nurture and your environment. A big chunk of it has been already pre-programmed for you up until from when you were born up until the age of 7 by everything that surrounded you. And for us now, it is the people around you. It is your teachers, it's your friends, it's the family, it's the things that were said to you, that it starts becoming your programming language. It starts becoming the things, your fundamental beliefs and truths, until you realize that the 5% consciousness that you've got and the actions that you are doing, this is where, they're just a reflection. And this is where I want to reprogram my subconscious so I am able to thrive in my life. I'm able to amend and adapt the things that I'm not happy with. It doesn't have to be as per what society says, it just means that I'm not fulfilled with them. I want to prosper further. I want to grow further. I want to disconnect myself from, associating my self-worth with my weight, which was my life problem for the first 40 years of my life. Every time I gained weight, I lost my self-worth and self-value. And it's those kind of things. And it's our awareness of it. Can you do it? Yes, you can. There are many personalities and many amazing people around the world that are enabling you and giving you the tools to do it. But it starts with as simple as listening to a positive message every day. Stand guard at the door of your mind, not letting in those that are toxic to your energy, those that drain you, those that are, they call them the energy vampires. I call them parasites. Just people that keep putting you down and making you feel like you can't. Yes, there are certain things that we can't do if we want to look at the physicality of some things. I'm not a mountain climber. I could possibly train, but it's not on my aspiration list. I have a thing about G-force. So getting on a roller coaster or jumping off a cliff or bungee jumping is never going to be on my list. My husband has tried for so many years. It's never going to be there. Maybe one day I'll challenge myself and jump off a plane. We don't know. We'll see how that goes. Skydiving. But, these are things that doesn't make me that I'm limiting myself and my capabilities. I'm recognizing what I have as a limitation and what I'd like it to remain. I don't have a problem with it. It does not impact my daily life. It does not impact my growth. And this has to stop. I am worthy. I am more than good enough. I mean, the story. Up until I was 2 weeks away from earning my doctorate degree, of which I had spent nearly 6 years, I was still not feeling good enough. And I still felt like there's something more I need to do to prove my worth. And it is those kind of things that maybe now is a time that we stop, that we breathe, that we reflect, and that we analyze the areas, our limiting beliefs, the stories we tell ourselves, and the areas that we want to amend and grow further.
100%.
I don't think that's an initial question, but I think I went off on a on a rant in another way.
No, it's so true, and it's funny how, with everything that you said, I've always felt like when you're younger, you don't really feel, you always feel that you're learning, and you always feel that you're not good enough, or you always expect, well, for me, it was always looking up to your peers and looking up to the older generation, because you were taught that, respect your elders, they know what they're doing. But as you get older, you realize that, no, we're all in the same boat. And yes, okay, they're older, and hopefully they're a little bit wiser, but actually we all have the same insecurities. Well, we're not same insecurities, but we suffer from insecurity, and we're always in our heads, knocking ourselves down, etc. And it's only recently, when I've been learning about rewiring the brain and reprogramming the brain, that it was just like, yeah, why do we try and exercise to change the body shape when we should be focusing up here first, and then everything else becomes easier? And it was just like that light bulb moment when I started to research and find out all this information. It was just like, oh my God, how long have we known this? How long have people been studying this? This is amazing. And I think, as I said before, I think it's down to technology as well, that scientists and doctors are actually realizing that there's a lot that comes from here to control the rest of our body, etc., etc. And we've always taken this for granted and done nothing about it.
But that's the point, that I think we are becoming, and possibly because of also the technology and the ability that we are exposed further to this material, we were also conditioned in one way or another to think of those like alternative medicine was a woo-woo, it doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Like people like Deepak Chopra have been talking about yoga and meditation for 30 years, and I only heard of him the past few years. Dr. Joe Dispenza, which we were talking about, he's been researching this field for over 30 years because of his own personal experience and realizing, oh my God, there's so much happening there. Dr. Bruce Lipton, the same thing. He's about all the biology of belief and what you believe and how does it affect your biology. And listening to him, he said, I started this like 35 years ago, and I was mocked within the academia. It was like, seriously, you're going to change your biology with your thoughts? But in essence, now we're opening up to these as, at least, even if you don't believe in them 100%, at least it's a possibility that you might consider. We saw with Janice yesterday, she was telling us part of her story, and she's like, she was like in death-defying diseases, and it was nutrition that changed the thing for her. I grew up with a doctor. My dad's a doctor, and for him, anything you said, he always had a handful of pills that he passed on to us, and up until this point, he was mad at me when I had our son, and he'd been calling me. He's like, how is he doing? And I'm like, yeah, he's got a fever, but he's okay. Give him antibiotic. I'm like, no, I won't. And he literally once screamed at me and hung up at the phone because from his perspective, I was endangering my son's life. From my perspective, he doesn't need antibiotics. It's a flu. His body needs to fight it. Let him build his own immune system. I'm managing the symptoms. I'm managing the symptoms. I'm not harming him. So these are all things that I know that I grew up with so much antibiotics in my system that now when I finished my health coaching certificate, and then I went on to study 6 extra months, just gut health, and just realizing there's something called the gut flora and the microbiome, and how that my body now is still healing from the antibiotics I took as a child. And that a lot of my bodily symptoms that I used to suffer from, and still am suffering, like I've got reflux, is because of that. It's because I've got, dysbiosis, and I've got imbalances, and it's all about nurturing my inner system again. And that for me was also a mindset shift. I'm no longer obsessed with my weight. I have not weighed myself for a year. I am obsessed with my nourishment and my health. Does that mean that I'm all fanatic about it? No, because I'm also human, because I realize that stress adversely affects me. So I'm not going to stress out about everything, but at least I know I'm making better choices across 70 to 80% of my choices, which is a huge improvement from it being just 10% composition of my choices before. So it is those gradual improvements. It is those embracing those small things, and it is opening up to possibility. To maybe, yes, if I meditate, maybe I will not be angry anymore. If I allow myself to be mindful, maybe I will forgive myself for past judgments or
Mm.
past errors, which I kept thinking for so long that I make so many mistakes. Well, they're no longer mistakes. They were just learning opportunities. They were judgment. What I knew then made me make that judgment. Now I know better, and now I will do better. So that's another affirmation that I got. And that in itself stopped making me angry at myself for so many years. Now I started saying, okay, I did the best that I can with whatever the circumstances were then. Now I can change that moving forward. And now I can empower other people to forgive themselves, to embrace themselves, to love themselves, and to give ourselves the space to heal and to grow, and the time. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, there's no magic pill to it. It
No.
has to start with you, and it has to keep going for some time. Is there an end line? No. No. Every day you'll grow a little more. Every day you learn something new. Every day your perspective will change a little bit. But that's the point. That's the beauty of evolution.
No,
Another
100%.
rant. Another rant.
Actually, just to, we did miss someone out. We missed Andrew Johnson. You missed Andrew Johnson out. You could be watching. Yes, Andrew. You were a great guest. We learned a lot from Andrew. No, that is true. And while you were talking, I was just thinking, I did a presentation to year 13 at Doha British School the other day on Zoom. And they record it and then they send it out to all their students as well. But that's what I was touching. I wanted to show them that I went through all my jobs, and I think I think I'm on my 13th now. This is my 13th running Ginger Camel. And one of the students said, "My God, and I've never seen anyone have so many jobs." And that included being a bar person, working on Euro sites in France when I didn't have any work for a year. But I just wanted to show them that, okay, you've got the idea of what you want to do, what you want to be, but these days it's not that simple. And don't give up, even if you're not starting in the right place. And you will never not learn from your experiences, and you will never, regret what you've learned, whether it's negative or positive. You'll always come away as a better person. Exactly. And even if you're in the wrong job, you will learn something from that, and you will become a better person, and you will grow, and you will achieve what you want to achieve as long as you are focused and determined, etc., etc. So
that's a beautiful thing. I wish like that is what I'm passing on to our son. Like our son over the past few years, I mean, he's only 9, but over the past few years, one day he wants to be a race car driver. The other day he's a scientist, and then he wants to be a scientist and a guitar player. And, he's evolving as per, and you know what our answer is to him? Whatever you want, honey, just work for it. Yeah. And if that's your aspiration, we're supporting you. Why? Because I don't want to limit him. I don't want to limit his imagination. I don't want to limit his potential. No. Trying to force him into a certain frame just means that I have broken that innovation within him and that potential for growth. And now, I mean, I used to be an A student in school, and I used to obsess about it because my parents expected me to be the A student, you know.
Of course.
And I remember going to university. When I first went to university, I was actually what do we call them? Intended major was computer science. Why? Because it was the trend. Everyone had to go into computer. IT is the future. I hated it. I spent 1.5 years of my life getting the worst grades ever, failing a midterm or two, which broke me because I'm an A student. Because I'm a people's person, and I can't sit and connect with a machine for the rest of my life. There are people who thrived next to me. My friends did amazing. They graduated. And then I found myself, drifting into a math major, which I was like, what do you do with a math major? All respect to math teachers and everyone working in math, but for me, it was like, what do I do with it? And I kind of organically found myself into the journalism and mass communication field. In my mind, I failed. In my mind, this is not what I wanted.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Within the first semester, I was in the student newspaper. I became the managing director of the student newspaper. I became the editor-in-chief of the student newspaper. And I went into the student union. I did, a talk show. We did the first talk show in university, and it was my place. But because I was limited, that first I had to be a doctor like my dad, which I refused. And then, I had to be then something that has a title, which I rejected. Internally, my mind rejected it. And then I found myself thriving. And still, that's not what I worked in. I worked in TV production after it. And then fate had me working in marketing, which I had not planned. I specialized in journalism and photography. And then I went into, after 12 years of marketing, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I went on an entrepreneurial journey, which I had never planned for. Yes, I went with my friends. We always got together. It's like, what are we going to do now? And we, had a coffee and stuff. And then we all went our way. We never made the business. But it was always that. And still, that was still not my end journey. It wasn't about building and running businesses. It was, now I find my purpose, supporting women to build and run their own business. But more importantly, how to believe in themselves first, how to ground themselves with self-worth, with self-love, with self-care, and accordingly, how to have balanced and thriving lives alongside. So it's a career and a job is still nothing. It's you, and what does it represent for you and to you? Does that mean that people who are still in corporate are not doing what their life purpose is about? No. People in corporate, some of them, that is what they were meant to do. And they're great at what they do, and they're leaders and they're visionaries, and they can do that. But that's life. Every one of us has a purpose, and we all have to do different jobs.
Absolutely. No. Have you done any school? Have you gone to schools? Because you'll be fantastic giving.
No, not yet, to be honest. I was going to go to our son's school, but then, I didn't push for it that hard. And I was going to talk more about embracing healthy habits and stuff, but I guess now is the time to really change our generation. As I said, I'm becoming a mom has really changed a lot of things in me. First, yes, all I was thinking about and obsessing about was getting our son on the same path and route as I, that he has to excel in school and stuff. And then I finally got out of that because my husband is the other end of the spectrum. Is like, so what? So what if he does bad on one thing? And I'm like, what do you mean? His mom's a doctor. How can he not do well? And I always took it like, for me, it was self-reflecting onto me that I took it personally, which is really wrong when you're raising a child. And then it evolved for me. It became, do whatever you want to do, but the bottom line is, make yourself proud today. Don't make me proud. Don't make daddy proud. Make yourself.
That's very true. That's good. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So that was actually the message I sent him with every single day when he used to go to school and before he gets on the bus. Make yourself proud today. And what's your intention for the day? To be excellent. Well, yeah, okay. He said it with the nod and the rolling of the eyes. But I just try to instill that into him. He has to have an intention of what he wants his act to be, and he has to have something he's aspiring for, and that is to make himself proud.
I'm a bit like your husband, who's just like, yeah, so what, Yes. Especially now when you actually see what they're actually studying, and you just really, do they really need to know that? I can't even remember anything about that, certain subjects. So, and my wife is like you. She had no issues going to school, getting the grades, where I was the one that struggled and dyslexic and stuff like that. So I can relate to my daughter, and I say to my wife, as long as she's happy and we can make it where she's enjoying learning, I don't want to put pressure on her, because then she will automatically switch off. Exactly. And she won't want to learn. So we've got to make it fun. And as long as the schools know, and they help. But yeah, we've kind of thought about homeschooling but then she won't get that interaction with other children, and she loves going to school and she loves that whole interaction. So we would never take that away from her. But has been a big learning curve for us, and it also teaches you what each parent brings to the table, and learn how you found it easy, I didn't, and then you kind of work together and learning from each other to make your child a happy child.
That's true. I mean, I think that is the bottom line for all of us. I had I known that the first 7 years were so fundamental in his life, I might have done better in that sense.
Yeah.
But now I know, and now I'm working towards that. Same as talking to him about nutrition. Yes, he doesn't like me most of the time for depriving him of a piece of cake. But he understands. I'm instilling these fundamentals into him, that your body is your wealth. Your health is your wealth. And that's one of the posts I put today. Your health is your wealth, is your source of wealth.
I know, but you're going to say that, and they're not really going to. Well, subconsciously, they're probably listening.
Exactly. That's what I'm doing. I'm working on the subconscious now.
Absolutely. So give it time for when he's about 20 or 30, or he's trying to date and trying to look his best. And then those little messages from mum be like, oh, mum was saying that, about eating healthy. And
I just hope he doesn't go and tell, it's like, oh my God, you're eating so much sugar, I don't like you anymore.
Yeah.
Which is not surprising for him, but still. But yeah, it's passing on the knowledge and hoping they embrace it. And I know that this is just and we're just setting the foundation. But we really have to be very wary and very aware of the language we are using with them and around them. They do pick it up. I remember when he was barely 2 years old and he did something, and I can't remember. Well, that was a very stressful time in my life anyway, but I said something. I was like, why are you doing this? What's wrong with you? And I corrected it. I think it was a small mess. He's a 2-year-old. But he had started talking. And lo and behold, less than a few months later, I was doing something. He's like, Mommy, what's wrong with you? I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
he picked up from me. Yeah. But it is those things. It is those simplest things. I'm not saying we can fake positivity around them, but I'm saying that they are very aware. They are very exposed as a generation now. They are getting bombarded from all across. And it is our role just to try to channel what communication gets through to them. Absolutely. And how we word our communication to them.
No, very true. Very true. Well, half an hour is fine.
We have to do an episode all about mindset, because that's going to be interesting.
Absolutely, but and I had so much else to talk about as well. So I wanted to find out what you've been watching on Netflix and stuff like that. There's been some great documentaries I've been following.
We've watched a few things, but not documentaries, to be honest. I'm getting my knowledge and my education during the day and through my courses and podcasts and stuff. No, night is entertainment. I loved Altered Carbon. My husband and I whizzed through the 2 seasons. It was an interesting concept.
Yeah, but these are kind of fly on the wall documentaries that we've been watching, like 2 seasons. So the first one was the Formula One behind the scenes, where they go and follow. Yeah. I've never been a Formula One fan, and I can never get it why people get excited about watching cars whiz around the track. I like the crashes, but that gives a little bit of excitement. But apart from that, I find it a bit boring. But watching these documentaries, these fly on the walls, amazing what goes behind the scenes, and the pressure and the money. And
exactly. That's the point, Stefan. If we get a glimpse into every life and every field and everything, we'll have so much more appreciation for each other.
Oh, 100%.
Of the stories that are happening now, the doctors and the nurses, those that go home and they can't even hug their own family and they have to self-isolate from them and all of that. And it is just, that's their daily life. Those that work anyway with infectious diseases and those that work with extreme cases. And, that is the essence. I remember our conversations at our dinner table or growing up was, my dad was in anesthesia, but he worked in the open heart surgery unit. And our conversations of my dad was telling us about stories about people who, had to go open heart surgery, or this baby that was born with the heart outside. And wait, I'll let you watch the video. Daddy, seriously, I'm like 13 years old. I don't need to watch these things. But it is those things. It is appreciating the value. I actually just watched as well Judy, which is Renee Zellweger, and it's a portrayal of just 6 months before Judy passes away. And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So we need to look at each other with empathy. We need to look at each other with compassion. We need to be kind to each other, and we really need to be considerate. I mean, enough beating up each other. It's just cruel. And now I'm saying, again, the message is all about, who's not worthy now and who's not valuable now, and those that are pent up in their mansions because they got to pay too much before. Come on, these are the same people you are watching on Netflix every night.
Absolutely.
They put in the effort. The actors and the actresses put in the effort. The singers did the same thing. Everyone is amazing at what they do, and everyone deserves and earns respect. So
100%, and that's what I would always say to my wife. If you pass someone in the corridor and you say hello and you don't get the same response back, and then you can be critical about it. It's just like, oh, how rude. They didn't say hello back. But actually, you don't know what goes on in that person's mind, or if they've had a bad day, or maybe someone's died, or you don't know.
Or maybe they didn't even hear you because they're so involved in whatever was happening that day.
Absolutely, and I've realized that a lot of the time when I've been listening to podcasts, and then my mind has been elsewhere, and then I come back. The podcast is just like, oh, I've just missed 5 minutes. What was he saying?
Exactly.
So anyway, on that note, let's round up. We've had our loyal fan, David.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Moore, and we've had a new follower, Levis Yarg, who says, very excellent. Dave says, we have found out how simple it is to make good food and how much money they have been making off us. Very true. I've saved a lot of money over these last few weeks.
But
and
yet again, they have their overheads, they have their staff, so let's not get ugly with restaurants now, but they earned their extra.
Don't be critical, Dave, absolutely. But I think I have eaten healthily over the last few weeks.
You're controlling what goes into your food. That in itself is a superpower,
Absolutely. And then he said, did you have Vino Rosso with your pasta? Dave, I don't drink. I gave that up 2 years ago, so no more. Then he says it's a task because the same person gets lumbered with the washing up. Yes, my wife has refused now to use the washing machine because sometimes it doesn't clean all the dishes. So now we have to wash up all the dishes. But I kind of find it therapeutic, actually. I go in this kind of meditative state. I put the music on, and then I enjoy actually washing up. I get some time on my own because everyone disappears because they don't want to do it. And then Dave says, one can always find something positive in every situation or experience. Very true. And yes, believe in yourself first. And then he says, if you like SF, what did you say, Dr. Hannan, that you...
I said altered carbon.
SF, what is it?
Try Westworld. Yeah, I'm not a Westworld fan. We tried watching, we went through the first season, started the second, I was like, I don't know. But maybe we could revisit it.
And then he says, enjoy washing up. You can do my ironing then. No, that is one thing that I do not enjoy is ironing. Anyway.
Yeah. And a shout out to Andrew Johnson again. Thank you for being on the show. And sorry,
yes. So now enjoy your weekend. We've got a weekend off.
Yes.
As a reminder, again, Steve Mackey will be hosting his In the Game show on the network at 2:15 tomorrow and Saturday. So enjoy that. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Stay safe. All the best. Thank you.
Bye.